This is called Mack Market. It's on MacArthur Boulevard, which is named after General MacArthur during the war. It's our neighborhood store. It's walking distance from my house. People meet there every morning for coffee. Kids come after school for candy. It's as close to a community gathering spot as we have. The market is run by the Kim family. The Kims are immigrants from Korea. They are revered in our neighborhood for their decency and their hard work. When they lost their son several years ago, the neighbors grieved for them. The Kims are not political. They've never hurt anyone. They only make things better. But last night, the mob came for their store. At 1 a.m. this morning, Mr. Kim was kneeling alone on the sidewalk trying to salvage what he has spent his life building. Scenes like this played out in hundreds of neighborhoods across this country, maybe yours. Here are a few. In Columbia, South Carolina, a man called the police when things began to fall apart. Rioters saw him call. They surrounded that man and they beat him. Onlookers laughed as he was pummeled.
Oh, hell no. They about to get on his. Oh, Lord. Oh, no. What? Damn.
In Rochester, New York, a group of 8 men smashed the windows of a jewelry store. A couple who lived above the shop emerged to confront them. Both of them were viciously beaten with a ladder and a 2x4. In Dallas, a man armed with what appeared to be a sword did his best to defend a business from looters. The mob bashed him in the head with a rock and a skateboard.
What they doing? What
It's hard to watch. In San Jose, rioters with crowbars stormed the highway and attacked vehicles trying to pull drivers from their cars. In Birmingham, Alabama, a local reporter called Stephen Quinn was beaten and then he was robbed on live television as he tried to cover the looting.
That is the horrible scene that you see right there as they are. We're wanting to make sure that Stephen is all right.
In Portland, Oregon, a man was beaten apparently for daring to carry an American flag in public. He never released the flag, by the way.
done with people like you. I have an opinion.
How many of these people died? How many were murdered by the rioters? We don't know yet. At the least, some were likely disabled for life. They were beaten that badly. And then there was the mass stealing. It seemed to be everywhere over the weekend. In Buckhead, an upscale part of Atlanta, rioters stole a Tesla from a dealership and drove it through an indoor mall, just to underscore how completely out of control things were. In Portland, Oregon, mobs looted Louis Vuitton, Apple, and Chase Bank, among many others. They often set fires as they left. In Chicago, protesters fought systemic racism by running through a Nike store stealing shoes. And in Washington, D.C., A federal city surrounded by military bases and protected at all times by the single highest concentration of law enforcement in the world. Criminals operated with apparent impunity in the streets. They looted Georgetown last night. They smashed the windows in federal buildings. They desecrated virtually every war memorial in the city a week after Memorial Day. And then, as you likely know, last night they set fire to St. John's Episcopal Church, a 200-year-old building that has welcomed every American president since James Madison. It's right across the street from the White House. For people stuck inside anywhere during this insanity, the sick, the elderly, the powerless, the experience was terrifying. Listen to this woman from Minneapolis.
How was last night?
Scary. They went straight to Office Max, the dollar store, and every store over here that I go to. I have nowhere to go now. I have no way to get there because the buses aren't running.
So that's what's happening in America right now. We didn't play all of the tape we have. There's a lot of it. Some of the tape is too shocking, and honestly, it's too incendiary. We understand that television is an emotional medium, and we don't want to make things worse. We're not going to.